Hello, encompassers. Assalamu alaikum. Do you know that we are the luckiest of creations, gifted with the freedom to make choices? However, this process can sometimes be frustrating as we must bear the consequences of our decisions. Well, the speaker of the poem that we're going to explore today faces the same dilemma as he finds himself at a crossroad where the choices he makes will shape his future. This is Robert Frost, an American poet of the 20th century. His works are classified as modern because he reflects on the theme relevant to the modern era, such as individualism, decision making, and complexities of life. His poems explore timeless ideas through simple yet profound imagery, making his poetry relatable even in the present day. And this is the poem, The Road Not Taken. We'll have a deep dive into it by Robert Frost. So let's start. Two roads diverged in the yellow wood, and sorry, I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. So the speaker of the poem here stands at a place, two roads diverging in the yellow woods. There is a fork. Fork means that two roads are separating. One road is separating into two. So he faces with two paths now. Both roads look appealing, but the speaker cannot travel both. And sorry, I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood and looked down one as far as I could. This is the first phase of decision making when you analyze the situation. So he's standing and looking as far as he could, but to where it bent in the undergrowth. This, he examines the road as far as he could see, but then it eventually bent into an undergrowth that is out of sight. So let's have a look at the meaning. Important word is diverged here, which means to separate and go in different direction from a common point. So two roads diverged in a yellow wood, representing a choice of decision in life where choices must be made. Poetic devices, symbolism used here, the road symbolizes the different path, the journey of life. So let's have a look at the poetic devices here. Two roads diverge in a yellow wood. And you see the and repeated in consecutive lines. And we also have the metaphor. The two roads symbolize choices or decision life imagery. The yellow wood, which paints a vivid picture of autumn forest, creating a reflective and melancholic, sad mood of autumn. Now, anaphora. What is anaphora? The repetition of a word or phrase at the beginning of successive clauses. So, in each line we see. So, this is the explanation. The speaker walking through a forest where leaves have turned yellow in autumn comes to a fork in the road, and he regrets that he was unable to travel both. And he's standing long time looking at the path. However, the speaker can't see very far because the forest is dense and the road is not straight. Stanza 2, what does it say? Then took the other. He was observing the one which was moving toward the undergrowth, but then he took the other one, which was as just as fair and having perhaps the better claim because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though, as for that, the passing there had warned them really about the same. Let's have a look at what are the meaning of these phrases here. Just as fair, better claim, wanted wear. Before that, let me just paraphrase. The speaker looks at the other road, which appears just as inviting. Just as inviting, just as fair means just as appealing as the other one. It seems a bit less worn Where is less worn? It wanted where means it was less worn out and perhaps less traveled because it was grassy. So less people had passed by there. Though on closer inspection, both paths appear to have been walked on equally. And then he found out that both of them were about the same worn out. Let's have the meaning of the words worn out. This is worn out. Just as fair means equally good or attractive. Wanted where, this is the word phrase in the stanza 2. Wanted where in the poem means that the road appeared to be less traveled or less worn down. Better claim. So he took the road and he thought that it had a better claim, means suggesting that the second road appeared to be less traveled or more inviting as it was grassy and seemed less worn down by previous travelers. This implies that it was different, less conventional, or perhaps more adventurous. So that's why he thought that it had a better claim, because it was different. Less people had passed by there. So in this stanza, we have the figures of speech. Paradox, first of all, what is it? The speaker initially sees one path as less traveled, but later admits both are equally worn. So this is a contradiction. When we find the contradiction, first he says that it's less traveled, then he says no, both are equally the same. So this is contradictory, and this is the paradox in the second stanza. Symbolism. The grassy road symbolizes a path less commonly chosen in life or unconventional choices. This is symbolism. Poetic device, we have wanted where alliteration, repetition of the sound, then assonance is the repetition of the A sound in grassy and had, and the imagery, the grassy path creates a vivid mental image of an inviting but unexplored choice. These are the imagery that are used. The speaker takes the other path, judging it to be just as good as the first and supposing that it may even be the better option of the two, since it was grassy and looks less worn than the other. Though now the speaker has actually walked on the second road, he thinks that in reality, when he's walking on that, he finds that in reality, the two roads must have been more or less equally worn in. Stanza 3. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. Trodden means no one had set foot on. So that morning, he realized that both of them showed that neither of them had been disturbed by the footsteps that day. The speaker decides to take one road and plans to save the other. He feels that he should leave the other for another day. And then he doubts that he will ever return to try the other one. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, he doubted if he would ever come back. So there's a contradiction again. Let's see. Irony. The speaker plans to return to the first road, but knows deep down that it's unlikely that he would ever get a chance to return to that. So you can never go back in life to the point where you had to make a decision and change things. It can only be, I think, in science fiction. And then we have metaphor, way leads on to way, compares life's interconnected choices to a winding path. Way lead on to ways, it's a metaphor kind of comparing life, how life has its interconnected ways, and the winding paths will not let him come back. Symbolism. The untrodden leaves symbolize fresh opportunities or untested possibilities. These untrodden leaves symbolize There are opportunities and untested possibilities. Poetic device, repetition, emphasizing the speaker's hesitation and reflective tone. He is he is repeating the word I. And what else? Assonance and consonance we have here. Assonance is the repetition of the vowel sound, O everywhere, and the repetition of the consonant sound is L being repeated and WW. Stanza 4. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverge in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. So symbolism here is sigh. And it's representing what? Possibly regret or contentment. Okay, ah bharni, it might be for regret or contentment. Ambiguity, that is vague, not clear, all the difference. When he says all the difference is deliberately vague, allowing multiple interpretations, success, failure, or simply a unique path. When he says this has made all the difference, we do not know whether he was successful in taking that decision, or was it a failure, or what was it simply a unique path. There is the end is ambiguous, unclear. Symbolism. The road less traveled symbolizes individuality or unconventional decision. Unconventional is normal, regular, which is not usually taken by people. So it's unconventional decision. The sigh symbolizes introspection about life's choices. He is like contemplating, he is pondering, thinking about life's choices and their consequences. Poetic devices, repetition of ages and ages, emphasizing what? Passage of time. And alliteration is somewhere ages and ages. Antithesis is contrast of two roads to highlight their significance, that there were two roads and he's comparing both of them as different. That's antithesis. Then enjambment, what is it? It's the sentence flow across lines, maintaining the reflective tone. So there's a flow throughout the poem. You will find enjambment as if he is conversing. So there is this flow of sentences without punctuation. The speaker imagines him in a distant future, recounting with a sigh the story of making the choice of which road to take, speaking as though looking back on his life with the future. The speaker states that he was faced with the choice. So one time in future, he's just imagining there will be a time in future when he will look back at this point and say and tell that there was a choice between two roads and he chose to take the road that was less traveled, a unique choice he wanted to make, and the consequence of that decision have made all the difference in life. Now we're moving on to, first we discuss the paradox, then we'll move on to the question answers. What's the paradox here? The speaker feels that choosing the road less traveled made all the difference in his life. Yet the two roads were essentially equally traveled. This is the paradox we discussed before, contradiction between the perception of uniqueness, the thought of uniqueness, and the reality that both paths were similar. So there is a contradiction कि वो क्या सोच रहा था, एक चीज यूनिक होगी, बिल्कुल अलग थलग सी लगेगी, and in reality it was that both were the same, और दोनों roads एक जैसी थी reality, और असल में जो वो सोच रहा था, there is a contradiction, इसको paradox कहते हैं. Metaphorical significance, we have life choices, the road not taken. आपका title भी the road not taken, he is talking about the choice he was unable to make. So he is looking back at that time and talking about not the road taken, but actually concerned about the road not taken. We have extended metaphor here. What is it? It's a version of metaphor that extends over the course of multiple lines, paragraphs, stanzas, or prose or poetry. Extended metaphors build upon simple metaphors with figurative language, varied description, and comparisons. So in metaphor, we have just in one line, we will have a comparison, but extended metaphor will go on to multiple lines and paragraphs and stanzas. So in here, similarly, we find the road that he saw with the fork in it, diverging in two ways, do rasto mein jab ja rahi hai road, that the same theme is continued throughout. This metaphor is continued throughout. This road is actually the symbol of making choice, life. And the two forks are choices that we have to make. So this metaphor is extended throughout the poem. So he uses the conceit, the image, the imagery of the fork path in the forest as an extended metaphor for any moment that requires us to make decisions, and especially a major decision. Now we're moving to the important question answers. We have some questions in your Cantab textbook of 11th grade. What does the poem suggest about making choices? There are many options and each choice shapes our future. Is there one right choice? The poem implies that both choices are equally valid with their own unique outcomes. However, the questions that we have from the paper, from your book, are the central theme. Well, the road not taken revolves around the choice and its consequences in life. First theme that he talks about is decision making in life. The poem reflects the universal experience of making decisions. The fork in the road symbolizes a moment of choice where the speaker must select one path over the other. That's the decision making in life that he has explored. Then we have individuality and unconventional choices. The road that the speaker chooses is often interpreted as the less traveled or the unconventional path. This highlights the theme of individuality and the desire to make unique choices. Okay. And third one is consequences of choices. Well, we see the speaker is reflecting on his decision, thinking about his decision with the acknowledgement that choices define the course of life. In this poem, he is bringing out this theme that our choices shape our future or define the course of life. Then there's ambiguity and regret. The poem also explores the complex emotion tied to decision making, including doubt and potential for regret. So there's an complex emotion there that in decision making, we are never sure, we're never certain that where this decision will take us, कि हमारा जो हम decision लेंगे, जो choice लेंगे, ये कहाँ पे इसका नतीजा क्या निकलेगा? We're never sure about it. There's always doubt and there's always potential उसमें गुंजाइश रहती है regret की, कि हम पछतावा हो कि काश हमने ये ना किया होता, ये किया होता. So this is regret. So there is potential of regret also in this is what he has explored through this poem. इस poem के जरिए से वो सारी चीजें explore कर रहा है कि हमारी choice making कितना complex एक process है. Question number 2. How does the poet convey the dilemma of the problem of the predicament of choosing between two paths? The poet conveys the dilemma of choosing through the image of the fork. ठीक है, वो कैसे इसको symbolize करता है? Image of the fork दिखा के in the road, symbolizing life's tough decisions. The decision is influenced by, किससे मुतासिर होता है उसका decision? By small details like the grassy road, the less worn out road, giving the impression of being less conventional, normal, or regular. What could be the significance of this decision and how does it reflect the speaker's mindset? The speaker's decision to keep the first road for another day reflects a sense of hope and optimism. Rhyming scheme. Throughout the poem, we have the rhyming scheme A, B, A, A, B. You see, A, would, both, B, stood, would, A, could. So A, B, A, and growth and both rhyme. So that would be B, B. Throughout the poem, we have the same. Now, in this video, we have covered word meanings and meaning of important phrases, paraphrasing, explanation, poetic devices, figures of speech, central idea, theme, important question and answers. So this was all for today. Thank you for being here.